welcome to another episode of The Real Steel, where we talk all things Pittsburgh Steelers. No BS, just the real steel. I'm your host, Jeff, joined as always by my co-host, Polt. And this story is a little bit different this week for the Pittsburgh Steelers, huh? Coming in down early in the first quarter, 7-0 to the Indianapolis Colts. Some could argue the best team in the NFL. At least going into this week they were. Steelers come out victorious over the Indianapolis Colts this week. And boy, did it feel good. How are you doing over there, Polt? I'm feeling great.
Oh my goodness. I feel like we might have exaggerated a little bit last week with what happened, but I felt what we were saying last week was true, and I think we both really felt that. And this team, they find a way, and I have no idea how. It was a typical Mike Tomlin win, and I'm ecstatic. I mean, I thought they played really well, so I am pumped as a Steelers fan, but the difference between last week and this week is night and day.
Yeah, so 27-20 victory for the Steelers at home. Here's what's puzzling to me is like this team seems like it can be the most predictable team in the NFL at times.
Yep.
That was the title of our last episode, Predictable Steelers. They also seem like they can be the most unpredictable team at any times, which is what we got in this game, which is, granted, we thought we were going to beat the Browns pretty handedly, but that was a really big game that we had where the defense showed up. It's been weird trying to figure out which way is up. I feel like watching the Steelers this season, and some days we're driven to say Mike Tomlin needs to be held accountable, needs to be fired, needs to be whatever. And then you go into a week like this, and it's like, damn, we just beat the best team in all of football. And I think that's a lot in part due to what we had, thanks to Mike Tomlin. So, gosh, it's a weird place to be. Let's try to break things down as best as we can. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about the game, but just an interesting position. Before we get too far, though, I got to say, on the record, this was the first time that you ever picked against the Steelers to win. You said, I think the Colts are going to win. And I don't remember what you said the score was, but I remember you said you think the Colts are going to win.
I said, I'll find the score in a second. Go ahead.
It doesn't matter because all you said was the Steelers will lose, and they proved you wrong. So I think you just got to roll every single week because now your record is going to be worse than what the Steelers' record is, right? Because if you pick the Steelers every week, you're essentially going to have the Steelers' record. You picked them to lose where we won. So you can't be doing that, buddy.
Yeah, but I could also argue I did my part. We needed a change of pace, and I've never done it. I reverse jinxed it. I actually even considered throwing real money on the Indianapolis Colts -3 before the game. I heavily considered it. I will say I threw Jonathan Taylor 2+ touchdowns because I thought that was an absolute lock. Turns out I lost my money. I know. First time ever, and maybe I can never do it again. I will say I still picked them in all my pick'em pools for everybody else that gave up. I still picked them in that, but I really did not think we would win. So it was a pleasant surprise to me.
Okay, I mean, fair enough. I can roll with that. Pleasant surprise to me too. I did think that this game was going to be a loss for the Steelers. I just didn't vocalize it like you did, but nonetheless, let's dig into it and start talking. Do you want to start on the defensive side of the ball this time around? Because maybe that's where, the most notable part of the game was with 6 turnovers against the Indianapolis Colts. I think that's a good place to start. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the stat right away. I'm sure you have it, but it's a good stat. There's only 4 times this entire season that a team's created 5+ takeaways in a game. We have 2 of those 4 instances. Against the Patriots, we had 5, and this week against the Colts, 6. And I think that's a good way to start the narrative on this game because we're going to dive in deeper. But the overall arching narrative, I've seen this out there a lot. You have 50-50 in the Steelers Nation saying this was a solid win and we dominated and who cares that we had 5-6 turnovers? Like, we just dominated the game. And then there's half of the fan base that's like, but it took 6 turnovers to win and we only won by 7. And all of this, like, is that great of a win? The Colts really beat themselves. And I think I'd argue the first way. I mean, I think this was a dominant football game. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the stats, they scored 2 or 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter when we were playing prevent. I think they had 3 two field goals and a touchdown in the fourth quarter to make this a one-score game, and we weren't even trying to like pressure them or anything like that because we were just trying to run the clock out. And I think the Colts really struggled in the middle portion after the first drive until the fourth quarter, and I think that was all because of the defense. And yeah, what a change of events from what we saw against the Packers to what we saw against the Colts.
For sure. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I have my gripes with the fact that it did take us a little bit of time to kind of close that game out. And I
Yeah.
know we were playing prevent D, but I mean, it would have been nice to possess the football for a little bit longer and not have that fumble from Roman Wilson. Like that was part of it, right? And
Yeah.
went three and out a couple of times, so kind of gave them the ball. I'm okay to play conservative there in the fourth quarter when you're up 3 touchdowns, but
Right.
some things were just a little frustrating. We'll dig into that when we get to the end of the game or the offensive side of the ball. But on the defensive side, this is at least my takeaway from this game was, and what I had heard from, multiple different, analytics people or commentators or whatever it may be. The defensive secondary played so much better in this game that it allowed for the pass rush to be so much better.
Yeah.
And the pass rush played better, which allowed for the secondary. No, you can't say that, right? Like, you have to say that the secondary played better, which made the pass rush better, because it doesn't really work in the reverse, at least to me. And I think one thing that I saw that's worth noting here is you look at snap counts of our edge rushers, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, and Jack Sawyer. What were we saying in previous weeks? We said Nick Herbig is our best pass rusher right now through this part of the season,
Yeah.
and he's not seeing the field nearly as much as Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt are. Snap counts this week, TJ Watt 61, Alex Highsmith 48, Nick Herbig 40, and Jack Sawyer 20. So they're really cycling in Nick Herbig and even Jack Sawyer in this game, which showed up well with Jack Sawyer and Herbig making that big play together. Or that was Jack Sawyer and Peyton Wilson that made that big play together.
Yeah.
But Herbig getting 40 snaps this week, it allows him to be on the field more, which is great as a great player, but it keeps Watt and it keeps Highsmith fresher, right? So they're able to perform better. And again, that secondary did so much better in this game that it allowed for the more time for, our defensive front to get to the quarterback.
And for those that like listen to numbers and try to fact check us, I think the bigger way to explain that is through percentages, because we had 78 defensive plays this game, and last week we had 64. But last week we were complaining because TJ Watt played 92% of snaps. He played all but 5 snaps. In this game he only played 78. So he wasn't on the field as much. I mean, that's a huge 15% discount in snaps. That kept him fresher. He was good the whole game. He didn't look tired, and he was making plays. And you could say the same about Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig. They were making plays the entire way through. And that is where I would say, I think, the secondary didn't allow quick passes, which we had been doing in the past couple weeks, that allowed the pass rush to get after the quarterback. But at the same time, the pass rush helped covered some secondary flaws, I think, because there were still guys open at times.
Sure.
But because the pass rush could get there, it didn't matter as much. But I really think it's better explained as the defensive line as a whole played better. I mean, Jonathan Taylor came in with like 850 yards or something, the number one rusher in the game, in the league, and he had 19 carries. As a team, they had 19 carries for 55 yards. He had 14 for 45. Amazing. I mean, that is nowhere near what he has done in the past, and I think that was in large part because the D-line played aggressive, and I mean, all 3 of the main defensive tackles, Keanu Benton, Derek Harmon, Cam Hayward, played their butts off, and were all over the field shedding blocks, and then the middle linebackers played great, and the edge rushers played great, and I just think it was a great team football up front in this game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then in the secondary, I think it was pretty incredible given the performances, the crap performances we've seen. Joey Porter had himself a really great day, penalties aside. He played really, really well. I think Brennan Eccles might be our best corner on the team right now, or is almost playing like that. He had himself a really good day. We'll talk about Kyle Duggar in a second, our brand new addition from the Patriots, but he was a guy that essentially came in on Thursday, and I think I saw something that said he played 78 snaps. Yeah, all but one snap. So, and he didn't make any big glaring mistakes. He was really helpful in the run game. That alone, I think, is a huge, huge difference.
Well, and that's not to mention, I believe Jalen Ramsey played almost all of his snaps at safety,
Mhm.
and I don't think he has ever played more than 20% of snaps in a game at safety. So this was a whole new experience for him as well, and that tandem back there seemed to be phenomenal. And what it comes down to is, if you look back, and a lot of things online are saying this, we did what we've kind of been asking them to do. It was a scheme problem. We simplified and we got easier. Duggar came in on Thursday, had 2 practices with the team. Ramsey's playing safety, not really playing that all that often. We don't really have a lot of backup safeties because they all were out for the game. And we just
Yeah.
said, hey, let's simplify this and let's not be crazy. Like, we're going to do crazy disguises and crazy things like that. And we're just going to play simple cover 2, cover 3, cover 1, and it seemed to work a lot. And they kind of took away the quick passing game. If you look, they doubled some of the slot routes. So Josh Downs in the slot, really good slot receiver, we'd come down and we'd kind of bracket him in the slot. And what that allowed us to do was not let the quick passing game happen. And when the quick passing game didn't happen, like you talked about, the pass rush got home. So yeah, I thought it was really, we gave a lot of crap last week. I did for sure, to the coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball, Mike Tomlin, Tara Austin, even Art Rooney. Got to give them credit now when they actually did step up and change the way their philosophy was, and it really worked.
So the biggest thing to me is we see this can happen with the defense. We got
Yeah.
to see it be consistent. And you talked
Yes.
a lot about the pass rushing. Next week when we play the Chargers, their 2 starting tackles are out.
Yeah.
And it's in LA. It's going to feel like it's a home game with how many Steelers fans
They
are
did
going to be
trade for a
there.
tackle today, but
They
he's
did
not as
trade
good
for a
as the
tackle.
starters.
Yeah, so I mean, this is something we need this pass rush
Yeah.
to be consistent and continue to do what it did against the Colts because that I think can be a huge differentiator in games for us and can help us win games.
Yeah, and I think it is important to maybe clarify. I said we didn't disguise as much. We did, just in a way simpler way. Like the last couple of weeks, how many times have we talked about miscommunication and lack thereof communication, especially when Deshaun Elliott went out? To, on Sunday, it seemed like they kind of just they may have disguised some stuff. Like there was one play where they thought that they showed they were going to blitz both middle linebackers, and then them and Highsmith dropped out, and Eccles blitzed. That's a great disguise. It worked. Highsmith made a great play, but it's not every play we're doing these crazy things where you have to have perfect communication to get it right, and that made such a difference. And then at the same time, Jalen Ramsey playing secondary is kind of a nice matchup for us because he
Hmm.
more or less played Tyler Warren. And he kind of took him out of the game. And he
Yeah,
made sure every single time he was anywhere near Tyler Warren and the ball was there, he was hitting him and he was hitting him hard. We know
right.
as Penn Staters, Tyler Warren can take that. But when an NFL player like Jalen Ramsey, who has that moxie, who's going to let you hear it, is coming after you play after play after play, obviously might make you a little bit slower going over the middle. So I thought Ramsey in that position played a really big role.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Tyler Warren ahead of this episode or in last week's episode. We're
Yeah.
big fans, obviously, as a Penn State alum. He's having himself a great season, and certainly he still is. But we really, really held Tyler Warren in check, who in past times has gone off on teams, and we
Yeah.
are coming off of a week where Tucker Kraft, the Packers tight end, went absolutely bonkers
Yep.
on us. We held Tyler Warren to 5 catches for 26 yards, and
Nothing.
some of those came late in the game, right? Or a couple of them did.
Yeah.
So, in what we would call garbage time, right? So,
Yep.
um, great stuff there, and all good points around.
Yeah. I mean, and it's I don't know. It was just impressive how they played, and I like you said, I just hope they can continue it, and this isn't just a one game thing. Let's not try to get back now that we have more practice time and get overly creative and make our defense worse. So yeah, very very impressive defensive outing. We only gave up 7 points until the fourth quarter against the number one offense in the
Yeah.
entire league. So yeah, awesome stuff.
So we'll end the defense with our maybe a recap of our bold predictions because that can transition us. Your bold prediction was, I think you get half a point here. I can't give you full credit. I think you said we will hold Jonathan Taylor to 1 touchdown.
Yep.
You can't get full credit there. We held him to less than 1 touchdown,
Yeah.
but we didn't allow more, right? So half a point goes to you on that one, if that's cool.
Yeah, I'm shocked you're even giving me half.
For what it's worth, you might only be able to give me half too. It's up to you. But I said we were going to have a splash play on special teams, and there was a muffed punt that gave us the ball on like the 15-yard line. Now, in classic Steeler form, we did not get any points off of that muff punt. But we went for it on 4th down inside of like the 5-yard line or something. And I was really, really happy that we did that. That was I was like, finally, Mike Tomlin has a pair and he's willing to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get points, but I do, and I'm trying to find which drive it was, but I do think it was the second drive of the game.
It's pretty early.
Yeah, it was after they went down and scored a touchdown, and it did kind of change the game. We were about to go 3 and out and give them the ball right back after they had a drive to score on us, just to their first drive of the game, and the fact that they fumbled kept their offense off the field for another 4 plays. And yeah, I mean, we didn't score, but I agree. I think it made a difference in the game. It kind of slowed their momentum and allowed us to kind of figure some things out. And yeah, going for it on the 4-yard line, 4th and 3. Unfortunate Darnell Washington couldn't come up with either of those 2 catches. But yeah, I think they were. I'll give you that. That's a good bold prediction. I think you were right.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at what happened on the next drive. That was the T.J. Watt strip sack, right? So that was allowed us to put together a touchdown drive that got us to tie the game 7-7.
Yeah.
And then for the rest of the game, really until the 4th quarter, last 5 minutes, it was really all in our favor. So I just wanted that to transition us to special teams. Then we can go to offense. Just to say that, man, we can't take for granted just how consistent Chris Boswell is, right? Like I don't even my heart doesn't really even skip a beat when he goes up to kick. Like I'm just like, man, it's so regular for him with what he's able to do. 2 for 2, 3 for 3 on the extra points, and punt game was pretty good for Corliss Waitman as well. That one that got muffed, he bombed the crap out of that punt. Like that was a massive, massive punt. 5 punts for him, 252 yards, so an average of 50.
It was a 67-yard punt.
Yeah, huge punt from Waitman there, so that was good. And similar to what we said in the past, I'm happy with having Keyshawn Williams as our returner. I don't think we've seen anything super flashy as of yet, but it's consistent and it's fine. It hasn't been anything that makes me, want to say, hey, let's put Calvin Austin back there, or let's do some other things. I think he's doing a fine job.
Yeah, and I mean, we can't go without mentioning Danny Smith and the coaching staff. I thought it was a pretty heads-up play. We kind of rip on this staff all the time, especially the lack of people. Right, the lack there of people on the staff. He's the only special teams coach on the entire staff, but they still knew. I think it's only the second time this whole season that this has happened. He knew that if you kick the ball out of bounds, the ball starts 25 yards from where you kicked it off. Well, since they had a personal foul penalty, we kicked it off from the 50, which means if we kicked it out of bounds, no matter what they did with the return, because they couldn't return it, they'd get the ball at the 25, which is worse than if you kick a touchback. So the wherewithal to do that, I mean, J.J. Watt and the Iron Eagle didn't even really know what was going on at first either. So that's how impressive that play was. And Boswell was pumped, Danny Smith was pumped, and I think that is worth mentioning because that's just a good heads-up play. Yeah,
100%, because that's probably not going to get talked about enough, and that's a really, really great point. We beat this team and the special teams group down hard when Caleb Johnson had that misplay earlier, and we said, "Wow, this sucks," because not only did Caleb Johnson not know the rules, it seems like the rest of the team didn't know the rules, and that's really embarrassing from a coaching perspective, right? And so now, when it's on the flip side, and you're able to take advantage of, some people even called it a loophole, right? You're able to take advantage of this loophole. That was a huge thing for us to be proud about. So I don't necessarily redact what was said during that Caleb Johnson play.
No.
But that's a good learning exercise for the team, right? Like it was a great way for them to say, hey, maybe we do need to, who knows if this happened, but maybe we do need to brush up on all the rules and everything and figure out that, hey, there's going to be ways we can take advantage of certain situations. So
Yeah, and if you look
that
at
was
it,
great. Thank you for bringing that up.
and if you look at it, we went up 24-7 there. That's when that was when we had the 3-score lead and them kicking out of bounds. Sure, they got a 52-yard field goal off of it, but otherwise they could have started at the 40 or the 45. Like we started them on the 25. So yeah, really big play and a very big moment when we had all of the momentum. So yeah, I'm glad that we were able to amend maybe our issues with Caleb Johnson.
Yeah, and I heard something earlier that was Chris Boswell, I think, was the only kicker or one of two kickers this year who has not kicked the ball into the end zone
Yeah.
during kickoffs, which is great, right? You don't want to automatically give them that touchback. You want to force them to return, try to kick it deep, kick it to a corner, whatever it may be,
Right.
so that you can ideally stop them short of the 35, 30-yard line.
Yeah.
And so that's great. Boz, stud. He
Stud.
might be my mid-season Balls of Steel winner. Aaron Rodgers is actually somewhat of a contender, though, so
It's hard to argue, Boz.
hard to argue Boz. I'm a big Boz guy, you know that.
Oh yeah.
But let's talk offense here because
Yeah.
27 points on the board.
Yeah.
Not our best showing, but they definitely were moving and grooving in some capacity. Aaron Rodgers, 25 of 35 for 203 yards, only one passing touchdown through the air. Jalen Warren, not so great on the ground, but the ball really was spread around from a passing perspective. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different receivers in terms of
Wow.
where the ball went this week. And so every week, I gotta say, like, I'm liking more and more what I'm seeing out of Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know if you feel the same way or not, but it's something I clearly have came around to, and I'm coming around to even more, I feel like, with each week. It's just like there's stability there. It feels like you can tell there's a veteran presence.
Yeah.
And he knows what he's doing, right? Like like sometimes he'll take a bad sack or hold on to the ball, but like if he's going to get sacked, he's holding on to the ball, right? Like if he has a window to throw it away, he'll throw it away and he won't make a bad throw or risk a bad throw. I feel like I've seen these things with Rodgers that you look back at our last few years with, Justin Fields, Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, all these guys just weren't as mature in their play. And you would say, hey, I wish you could just, maybe not take the sack and throw it away or not hold on to the ball so long and do whatever. Yep. And, Aaron Rodgers does a good job of that. So even though the stats here aren't flashy, I'd say it was a pretty good game for him all around.
Yeah, the stats are pretty pedestrian and not very flashy, but it's everything you're saying. We've been asking this roster to make a difference because of the veteran leadership that they have, and Aaron Rodgers does that. Like you said, there was a drive there early on where he threw like a check down to Kenneth Gainwell, but if Kenneth Gainwell ran up the field, he would have had the first down on a 3rd and 8, and it's the wherewithal to realize that our defense is playing well and you don't have to force it. And when you force it, that's when you can turn the game around. Don't change momentum when you don't need to. And Aaron Rodgers is great at that. Like you said, he has an unbelievable understanding. That touchdown pass to Pat Freiermuth was a beautiful throw. He threaded it in between the two defenders, put it on his back shoulder. I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers has played great, and I do not think we are anywhere near this position without him. And it could be said about Jalen Ramsey, too, just not to go back to defense, but the veteran leadership. Aaron Rodgers gave Ramsey credit. He said Friday night, I think, or maybe Saturday night, Ramsey got up in front of the team and made like a really heartfelt, emotional speech about how they're not getting it done and they need to turn it around. And Rodgers said he felt a change in the room after that speech. And that's just something we haven't had, whether it's Rodgers or whether it's Ramsey, in the last couple of years. I do think they're pretty invaluable to this team. But the offense, yeah, pretty pedestrian. Didn't really do a whole lot. 225 yards, scored, I think, all of their touchdowns off of the turnovers. But capitalizing off of turnovers is an important thing, and we were able to do that. And if you look at it, time of possession, we haven't won that all year. We were only down by four minutes, I think, in this game, and the Colts basically controlled the ball the entire fourth quarter when we were up by 3 scores. So I think from that point of view, we didn't do all that bad. So Yeah, it can get better, and I think it will get better. But they did what they needed to do in order to win the game, and I mean, an eight play 6 yard drive to kick a field goal in the fourth quarter is hilarious. It's honestly kind of hilariously bad, but hey, it worked out, and we won the game. So yeah, I think the offense did just enough.
Yeah, I think what I like about the way the offense looked is you can still have a productive game, put points on the board, and DK Metcalf doesn't have to have 8 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
DK Metcalf's stat line here, 2 catches for 6 yards. He was only targeted 4 times in this game, right? So
Yep.
nothing flashy from your number one, but you get guys like Calvin Austin, Darnell Washington, Kenneth Gainwell pretty heavily involved in this passing game, and the rest of our tight ends too, Pat and Jonnu Smith. It was great to see like that ball really get spread around and the ball not being forced to
Yep.
DK Metcalf. Like there's a way that you like there's two sides of the coin there, right? There's one of like DK Metcalf is your most dynamic player. Like
Yeah.
you should be trying to get him the ball 5, 6, 7 times per game. But if those looks aren't there, you can't force that, right?
No.
You can't force that to happen. And I think Aaron Rodgers, as a experienced veteran quarterback, was very hyper aware of that, and therefore did his job. I feel like in this game. So I think that's also part of the reason why it looks like from the stat sheet, like you said, pretty pedestrian. I think DK's numbers alone are probably a pretty big part of that because
For sure.
He's going to average much higher. Probably target share, reception count, and yardage every week. And so with that being so low, I think that's part of the reason we saw what we did. So it's just something to add in.
And like I said, there's a play here or there, two or three, that maybe the offensive stats look completely different. Like I mentioned, the Kenneth Gainwell play. Darnell Washington catches that fourth down conversion or the third down conversion in the end zone. I mean, there's a few plays here or there that we might have missed. Roman Wilson doesn't fumble the ball stupidly on a hurdle. Like there's plays here or there that if we don't have them, the game does look different in the box score. But a win's a win. I think it is important to mention though the tight end usage went back to what we wanted. We were begging for this after last week. Well, Darnell Washington led the team in the tight ends and snaps with 66%, then followed by Pat Fryermuth with 47 and Jonnu Smith with 40. I know we're paying Jonnu Smith a lot of money, but he is the least valuable, at least at this point with the way we're playing, tight end out of those three. And when we've done well and succeeded, like the Cincinnati game, well, I guess that was offensively, but some of these last couple of offensive games we've done well, it's been Darnell Washington and Pat Fryermuth. So give Arthur Smith and the offensive coaches some credit there too, going back to the drawing board and getting back to what worked. So hopefully that can continue.
Darnell Washington is a massive piece of this offense.
Oh my gosh.
There's a stat here that says when Darnell Washington plays over 40 offensive snaps for the Steelers, that's happened 8 times since him being a Steeler.
Yeah.
So more games than not every one of those games has happened this season. There's been some in previous years. 8-0 when Darnell Washington plays 40 or more snaps, 111 rushing yards per game, 9 rushing touchdowns, and we're outscoring opponents 199 to 139.
Wow.
So keep getting Darnell Washington on the field, right? Like that's pretty clear as day. The announcers even praised him too. You don't see a 300-pound guy very often that can catch the ball, move with the ball, and be able to block like he can. So I don't know, man. He very well could be another candidate for halfway through the season balls of steel, right?
Yeah, he's made and broke this offense. I mean, like you mentioned, he played 41 snaps this week, 29 last week, and it was completely different offensive results. So very key component here. Do we have to talk about the Roman Wilson play real quick, or?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Unfortunately, I'd probably say that's the worst part of this game, right? I mean, we're clearly in run out the clock garbage time, and Roman Wilson gets his first catch of the game, and makes trying to be a savior or make a hero play, and ultimately gets the ball knocked loose to put the ball back in the Colts' hands when all we're trying to do is run out the clock.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? What's your takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, I think he got the first down and he did the hurdle after the first down, and I didn't really understand that. I get trying to make a play, but that was a sure thing catch is like the whole point of the play there. I think just take your first down and get down and move on to the next play. Don't try to make anything crazy. I mean, the hard thing is if he survives it and doesn't get stripped, we're saying what a great play it was. So like it's the bittersweet, but you gotta know the time and place, and that just wasn't the time for a hurdle. But I think he did get praised by either Aaron Rodgers or Mike Tomlin about his play and his blocking, and I hope this doesn't limit his playing time, because I do think he's been important too with his blocking and some of his route running. So we'll see what he can do. But yeah, that was a pretty bonehead mistake.
Yeah, it's a rookie mistake by essentially a rookie, right?
True.
Someone who missed his full first year. So I think we can chalk it up to that. Caleb Johnson did that same thing, right? I thought I would never let that go. Maybe I have a little bit. He's been cycled into some games as of late and done a pretty decent job when he's been called upon. And I don't know what his performance has been on special teams, but maybe it's been decent. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold grudges with any of these players. That's a shitty
No.
play. If it would have lost us the game or changed the trajectory, that would have been really, really unfortunate. Roman Wilson, I think, is probably blessed or very fortunate that it happened when it did.
Yes.
And didn't necessarily impact anything, right? Because on the Colts' next drive, there was an interception. So I think he really lucked out there. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I want to say one other thing about the offense here, and yeah, feel free to chime in if there's anything else you want to add about this game. And I know we have to do some Jags and some balls, but I said it last week. It was what, Jags and balls? I said it last week. It was a huge one of my classic. I think you owe me some grace to get like one slip up per week when I don't really do my research. I said last week that we signed Marquez Valdez-Scantling to our roster to help out in the wide receiver room. You corrected me and said that was just rumored and it didn't actually happen. So it did actually happen this week, though. We did say that it could happen this week, and reports were that it was going to happen this week, and it was made official. We did sign Marquez Valdez-Scantling, MVS, to our practice squad, but my understanding is that we are going to activate him to the roster. We already did. What's your take there? Do you know that yet or not?
No, they haven't said anything well, I haven't seen anything, but I do expect him to play a role here, especially. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of important too. We cut Beanie Bishop as part of that move. Tomlin refused to comment on it. He said he won't talk about the practice squad. He'll only talk about the 53. So it's important to get this guy. Aaron, like we talked about last week, talked really highly of him. We'll see what he can do.
Well, and there's no sizable injuries right now, I think, that came up in that game, right? I mean, Sayamalu, perhaps. But we'll have to see what happens. Like, who wouldn't, make the 53-man if you do bring up MVS? Arguably, you probably cut or don't activate a wide receiver. But
Scotty Miller is hurt.
Gunner, Scotty Miller. Okay, so maybe it's to fill in Scotty.
Here was Tomlin's injuries. I just found it. Scotty Miller is out again. I think he's been out 2 or 3 weeks. Cole Holcomb's still out. Jabril Peppers is dealing with the soft tissue still. They don't know about him. Sam Allu's still dealing with the pec, and Chuck Clark is working his way back. They expect him to play. But, I mean, yeah, Scotty Miller, or I do know a couple weeks ago they only were holding 52 men on the roster, so I don't know if they still have, maybe Kyle Duggar might have been the 53rd man, but they might still have a chance to have one less player.
Okay, I only say that because, like, you have DK, you have Calvin, who's now back, you have Roman Wilson,
yeah,
you have Ben Skoranek, who's playing, and then, yeah, I guess you're looking at Scotty Miller
or Williams, Keyshawn Williams.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, cool. Anything else you want to talk about with the game?
Well, or is it worth mentioning, since we talked about MVS signing, that the trade deadline has come and passed?
Yeah, no moves.
We did nothing. We did Kyle Duggar last week, I guess, but we
seem disappointed.
Yeah, we were rumored to be in all of these different deals. Jacoby Myers, Rashid
Aren't
Shaheed.
we always?
We always
Jalen
are.
Waddle.
Jalen Waddle. Nothing came to fruition. The only reason why I'm a little upset or frustrated is it feels like they're trying to be one step in the win now mode and one step in the preserve next year. And because they didn't want to trade it. I think they easily could have traded what the Jaguars traded for Jacoby Myers. They just didn't want to give up the 4th and 6th round pick, which is fine. Keep your picks, but if you're trying to win now, you sometimes have to. That's not really jeopardizing the future, but give up some of your picks. So I just don't know what to think of it. I'm hoping there's rumors that maybe Asante Samuel Jr., who's a ex-corner for the Chargers, was a good player, had some back issues this year, spine issues. The Steelers doctor actually did his surgery this summer,
Oh,
so
wow.
he's now cleared to play. He's a pretty valuable piece on the market. They're wondering if they go pick him up, but I don't know if we need a wide receiver, to be honest with you. I was just hoping maybe something else on the defensive side of the ball, but
Yeah,
turned
I
out
don't think
nothing.
we need a wide receiver at this point. I mean,
Yeah,
everyone wants someone, opposite DK, but I think we got to ride with what we have.
yeah, I agree.
And we'll see what MVS can do for us. Who knows? You're right. Defensive side of the ball would have been nice to get a playmaker. You see someone like Sauce Gardner get traded,
Jeez.
but it is what it is, right? This is the Steelers team that we're going to work with for the rest of the year. We're 5-3. We're in first place in the AFC North. Right now, we
Yeah.
would be the 4 seed in the AFC, I think. And like we talked about, we got a really tough schedule coming up, as really will be for the rest of the season. So it's make or break for us. We'll see what happens. We control our own destiny.
Yeah.
And the two really, really good marquee wins that we have against the Colts and the Patriots that look like two of the best teams in the AFC are pretty impressive. Let's see if we can do it against the Chargers, because I think they might be in front of the AFC West right now, or maybe Denver is. But
Denver is, but they're in fifth, so.
yeah, fifth fifth in the AFC.
Yeah, they're the first wild card. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So let's see what we can do this week. Let's talk about that Chargers game in just a second. Wrap things up with a Jag-off and the Balls of Steel. This is a really positive game, so we'll just start with Jag-off, and then we can spend a little bit more time with the Balls of Steel. I'm going to pull a classic Polt here and give a weird Jag-off, just because I'm not going to throw shade at any particular player here. I'm going to give my Jag-off to the last 5 minutes of this game. It was agonizing watching these last 5 minutes, because it was like 30 minutes. And in those last 5 minutes, let me pull it up. I had it here. In those last 5 minutes, there were like 5 different possessions. Like, it was really, really painful.
Yeah, it was sloppy.
I'll pull it up here. So yeah, last 5 minutes of the game started with the Roman Wilson fumble. Then we had the Joey Porter Jr. interception.
Yep.
Then we had a 3-and-out, where we essentially had a loss of 2 yards. We had a bad run. We had a sack, a penalty, and then we punted. Then we let up a field goal, and we had to go through like this onside kick cycle that took even longer. And so it was just agonizing to me. I would have loved if the Steelers could just have, ended the game, ran the clock. Of course, we couldn't do that. I'm not going to harp on this being a one-score game, because people are being dramatic about that, but it is kind of annoying that this was a one-score game when it could have been a lot different. I don't think we've had a multi-score win against a good opponent in a while. We did against the Browns, but that doesn't really matter to me. So that is my Jag-off of the week. It's just the last 5 minutes of this game.
That's fair. I actually don't have a good Jag-off either, so I'll pull another Polt special. I consider giving it to myself after picking them to lose, but I think I did the reverse jinx, so I'm pretty pumped about that. I'm gonna actually give it to the TJ Watt haters, because I think that he's gotten a lot of heat because his production hasn't been there. Nobody can argue that his production hasn't been there, but we've documented how a lot of it's not his fault. He's not even having a chance to pass rush. Well, in this game, he had a chance to pass rush, and he made maybe the single most important play of our season thus far with that strip sack of Daniel Jones. If he doesn't strip sack him, they might go down and score, and they're up 14-0. And this game gets carried away very, very quickly. He started the turnover parade. And listen, his production's not there numbers-wise, but he still is the only person this season to have at least 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception. There's only one other guy that's close, and it's Nick Herbig with 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception. So I just think TJ really showed that if you give him the opportunity to rush the passer, he still is elite at it and can be a difference maker. We just have to allow him to do that, and hopefully the back end can continue to do it. So I don't have a good one. It's a Polt special, but I think TJ Watt haters got silenced a little bit this week.
That's fair. That's good. It's very valid. I'll give you that. And I don't disagree by any means. So it's a good one. It's nice when our Jags are like not.
They're hard. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
good spot to be in. Balls of Steel. You want to go first? Because there's quite a few I feel like I could go to, unless you want me to jump in.
It's up to you. I mean, I can go. I don't think I'm going to take yours. I'm going to give mine to Kyle Duggar. I think he's very deserving. Again, on the stat sheet, 4 tackles. That's all he had. It's pretty underwhelming. But his presence out there, you could tell when you look at some of the clips and watch the game. He was a really good communicator, which is what he's known for. He did well in coverage, which he's not well known for. And I think he just made a difference in the game against the pass and the run. And him and Ramsey looked like a really good combo back there. So last week we were saying so many bad things about our safety position with no Deshaun Elliott, and I think Kyle Duggar is really going to solidify it for us. So, coming in on Thursday and playing all but one snap is pretty impressive too. So, Kyle Duggar gets my balls of steel.
Love it. Lots of directions we could go, right? Kyle Duggar was on my list. I saw something about Juan Thornhill that said, for being on the bench all game, he was so in the game and supportive and such a good, a good teammate.
I considered a jag-off for Chuck Clark just because of that, because Chuck Clark was bad like Thornhill, but he was nowhere to be seen. But
Yeah,
I didn't.
well, I mean, I'm not going to give it to Juan Thornhill when there's plenty of
No.
other guys that deserve it, but that was one. I do want to give a legitimate honorable mention, and then I'm going to give mine.
Okay.
My legitimate honorable mention is the Super Bowl winning Steelers team,
That's good.
Super Bowl XL, Super Bowl 40 winning team that was present not only at the game, but my understanding, maybe it's some practices leading up, or maybe in the locker room, or who knows. Cowher was there, Dick LeBeau was there. You name these guys: Joey Porter, James Ferrier, Alan Faneca, Big Ben.
Jeff Reed.
Jeff Reed, I saw him in the picture with
Yeah.
with that. Listen, those guys, I think, showed our team what it's like to be the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
How important it is, especially what it means to be a member of that Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And I think that that's really part of the reason that we saw tides turn a little bit in this game. Honestly,
Yeah.
call it conspiracy, call it whatever you want, but I do think that played a role. And so for that, bringing the best team in the NFL to Pittsburgh to play against the Steelers every week, if you can have, our former Super Bowl winning teams there, because it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
That was really, really cool. So that's an honorable balls of steel for me. But when I look at the box score, when I look at it from a player perspective, I can't go anywhere other than giving it to Peyton Wilson.
Yep.
It just makes sense this game. 14 tackles, led the team by far. Couple passes defended, an interception. He just played a really, really solid game where he was someone that in earlier games this season, I think had been heavily criticized for maybe missing tackles. Maybe that's just you heavily criticizing him.
I gave him the
But,
jag off week 3 against the Patriots.
yeah, and I just got to say, I want you to remember that I picked him to be the leading tackler for the Steelers this year. And
You did.
He's doing pretty well in that department. I think he is leading the team. But listen, I think Peyton Wilson can and will and is becoming a crucial part of this defense, especially like in that middle linebacking core where, I think it's him and Patrick Queen running the show right now while Cole Holcomb is out, right? Like we've really needed someone to step into that role. And Peyton Wilson with the 0 ACLs and MCLs and whatever, he's playing pretty well, and he had himself a really good game. I did note that there was a bad play, I think a missed tackle that he had, but that I picked up on because I was praising him, and then of course he had to go in and make a not so great play. But listen, all around, I think Peyton Wilson had himself a really good game. I think he's playing pretty well. He's playing like he's a member of a Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and so for that reason, Peyton, NC State product, balls of steel for this week.
Totally well deserved. I'm glad you went there. I was hoping you'd go there. He played 67% of snaps last week with Cole Holcomb playing. He played up to 85 this week. He seemed to be just more comfortable on the field. That interception of his was just a heads-up football play. It was just a great play, and then his tip pass to get Jack Sawyer his first interception was beautiful too. So
And touchdown.
yeah. And right. Yeah, so I mean, it's
Oh, wait,
it's
it wasn't. Was it a
it was
touchdown? Was it a
no, it
defensive touchdown?
wasn't. No,
Okay,
it
okay.
wasn't a touchdown.
They
You
ran
had
into
me
the
there for
end
a
zone,
second.
so it made me think about it.
It
But I
was
knew
only a
that.
4-yard return, but it's okay. Um, no, I
That's my
agree.
one that you have to give me grace on every week.
Yeah,
Like my
no,
one
that's
little.
fine. I almost let you have it, and then you corrected yourself. But no, I agree. Peyton Wilson, very well deserved. 14 tackles is crazy. He was all over the place. Awesome game for him.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, you ready to transition?
Yeah,
All right, another Sunday night football game, which I'm not sure how happy I am about, but I think this is the second to last primetime game we have. I think we have a Monday night game against Miami later in the season,
which
if I'm
could get
correct.
flexed.
Could get flexed. I wouldn't be mad if it doesn't. If it does, nonetheless, Steelers traveling to the West Coast against the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 6-3. Really good football team. Justin Herbert is playing like one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Steelers are opening as underdogs in this game, 2.5 point dogs. Over underline is at 45.5, so it's not a very high implied score,
No.
um, given some of the games that we've had and some of the points that we've been able to put up recently. Here's the story with the Chargers. I mentioned that their two of their starting offensive tackles are out. They did just make a trade, like you said, but Joe Alt was one of those tackles. I don't know who the other one was, but this is
Rashawn Slater.
so good veteran guys that are going to be pretty crucial to Justin Herbert's offensive line to be out. This is really something that the Steelers need to take advantage of. Their running game is not nearly as strong as I think it had been.
Yep.
Had we seen Omarion Hampton, who's been on injured reserve for quite a few weeks now, they're rocking Kamani Vidal, I think, is who their
Yep.
starter is, and Hassan Haskins. So not really household names. And the wide receiver crew is pretty much led by Lad McConkey and Keenan Allen. So these are good wide receivers. Justin Herbert has weapons. He has a tight end that he really likes this year and has used him a lot recently. So definitely a high-powered offense, maybe from a passing perspective. You might have the stats there to I don't know, back things up. But our defense is going to have to come show up and have themselves another game, because this is definitely a team that could pick us apart, and we traditionally don't play well when we go out west. So I'm a little nervous about what we're going to come up with in this game.
Especially West primetime games. I don't have any stats to back that up, but I know we're not very good, and we've lost out there on Sunday night recently. So, yeah, to back you up with some stats, they're 17th in points scored. They're scoring just under like a half a point of what we're scoring, 24 a game. Offensively, they're throwing the ball really well, averaging 250 a game, sixth in the league. But like you said, rushing their 10th, but I think a lot of that's heavily favored to early in the season with Omarion Hampton. Skewed, thank you, that was the word I was going for. Omarion Hampton and the Fresho line. Here's the other side of the ball, though. They're pretty solid, but they've had some issues like us where they get too complicated and don't do as well. But they're 12th in the league, points allowed, giving up 21 a game. Third against the pass, giving up under 200 yards, and 17th against the run, giving up 109. So we'll see what we can do against their defense. I think their defense has been pretty good, although they've had a couple close games here. Or I guess they played a close game against Tennessee last weekend, 27-20. They lost to Indy a couple weeks ago, gave up 38 points. So we'll see if we can kind of capitalize. And this is a really big game for us. Like you said, they're the number 5 team in the league. We'll see if we can slow them down.
You got anything queued up for a bold prediction here?
Yeah, so I've been kind of looking at some stats here, and the Steelers' defense, the secondary we've been talking about a lot, have given up over 300 yards in 4 of the last 5 games we've played. The only game we didn't was the Browns game. Justin Herbert, like I just mentioned, they're averaging 250 yards a game. I think we actually step up and we make this not just a one-time thing. I think that the secondary figured something out, and we're going to stick to it. I think we hold Justin Herbert under 250 yards. I know that's their average for the year. He just had that last week. But for us, we give up 278 yards per game. And 4 out of the last 5, we give up 300. So I think we hold him under 250.
Okay. I'm really going to lean on the fact that their offensive line is going to be a little bit degraded here.
Yeah.
And I look at, some previous weeks with what this defense has done, and I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm going to say this is a 5-sack game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Another
Wow.
5-sack game for the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great, and kind of with my thought process too was the same thing that they might not be able to run the ball with the tackles, so they might have to come back and pass, and that's what happened with the Colts, and we were able to get after them. So I love it.
Score prediction. Let's
Tw-
hear it, man. What are you
tw-
doing? What are you gonna go?
I'm gonna go to one of my favorite scores. I feel like I predict this like every week.
24-17,
24
24-21.
20, 24-20 Steelers. I actually have not predicted that yet this year, so that's great. I think 24-17. I think we get off the schneid on these late, like these West Coast night games, and we figure one out, and we get on a run. Hey, we were talking doom and gloom last week. If you look at our schedule, though, if we can win this game, we got the Bengals, Bears. After that, we could go on a little 4-game, 3-game run. So, yeah, this is a really, really important game for our season.
So while we're right there, we'll wrap it up. But Chargers, you said Bengals, Bears, but then we play the Bills and the Ravens back to back. We have that Monday Night Football against the Dolphins.
Yep.
Then we play in Detroit against the Lions. We round out the season home against the Browns, and then away against the Browns, and then home against the Ravens. So, I mean, looking at this, you could maybe say I think a Mike Tomlin 9-8 football team wins 3-4 of these games.
Yeah.
But if we're going to solidify ourselves as contenders, we need to beat the Chargers. You need to take one of those games away from the Bills and the Lions.
Yep.
You need to take one of those, maybe both of those games away from the Ravens, like we have done in previous years. So we'll look to see what happens moving forward. But this could be a really pivotal game for the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward.
Yep. I agree.
I'm excited. Not excited to watch another night game, but hey, that's life and that's the way it goes. So we'll see where things go.
Let's hope for positivity come Monday morning.
Cool. Repeat of this defensive performance would be great, and
Yep.
and let's dial up the notch on the offense. Maybe get DK involved a little bit more. That'd be fun to see. So we'll
Yeah.
leave you there. As always, we appreciate everyone listening, watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, everyone. Peace.